The massive transport ship eased into Earth Station Harmony's docking bay with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Unlike the usual diplomatic arrivals, this one had no fanfare, no ceremonial guards, and no welcoming committee beyond the required station personnel. Station Director Hannah Kim stood at the docking port, her back straight and face carefully neutral. The message from Earth Central Command had been clear: treat this rival with respect, but minimal attention. The less publicity, the better. Director, the Draconian vessel has completed docking procedures. Her assistant whispered. They're requesting permission to disembark. Hannah nodded. Grant it. And make sure the special access corridor is clear. The docking door slid open with a mechanical whir. Instead of the typical Draconian entrance wings spread wide in a display of power and pride, a large, flat hover platform glided through the opening. On it lay Ambassador Tejo, his enormous scaled body secured with medical restraints. His once mighty wings folded and strapped against his sides. Hannah bowed formally. Ambassador Tejo, Earth Station Harmony welcomes you. I hope your journey was comfortable. The dragon's golden eyes studied her. His long neck moved with careful precision as he inclined his head in return. As comfortable as possible. Director Kim, thank you for the consideration. His voice was deep but soft, nothing like the booming tones humans had come to expect from Draconian diplomats. Hannah tried not to stare at the hover platform or the restraints. Everyone knew Draconians valued physical strength above almost all else. Sending a physically disabled ambassador to the most important peace talks in 50 years seemed like either a grave insult or a desperate move. We've prepared your quarters, according to the specifications sent by your government, she said. The human delegation will meet you tomorrow morning in Conference Room Delta. Today is for you to rest and adjust to station gravity, and for your people to adjust to me, I imagine. Tejo replied with what might have been a smile. It was always hard to tell with dragon expressions. Hannah didn't deny it. This way, Ambassador, as they moved through the station's wide corridors. Station personnel and civilians stopped to stare. Draconians rarely visited human stations, and never one in Tejo's condition. The whispers followed them like shadows. Is that really their ambassador? How does a dragon get paralyzed? Must be some kind of trick. Why would they send a broken one for such important talks? Tejo's ears twitched slightly, but he gave no other sign of hearing the comments. Hannah knew the dragon's hearing was excellent. He caught every word. People will talk, she said quietly. It will pass once the negotiations begin. People always talk, Director. Humans and Draconians share that trait, at least. They reached the specially modified quarters. The room was enormous, with reinforced flooring and climate controls set to the higher temperatures Draconians preferred. A docking station for the hover platform stood in one corner. Is there anything else you require, Ambassador? Hannah asked. Tejo moved his hover platform to the docking station. Just one thing. I understand Captain Doyon Park is part of the human delegation? Hannah blinked in surprise. Yes, Captain Park is our military liaison. I would like to meet with him. Today, if possible. The request was unusual. Protocol dictated that all delegates meet together first. May I ask why, Ambassador? Tejo's golden eyes seemed to glow brighter. Let's call it professional curiosity. One wounded warrior to another. Hannah hesitated, then nodded. I'll arrange it. Captain Doyon Park stood alone in Conference Room Delta, looking out at the stars through the large viewport. His reflection showed a man in his 40s, with a weathered face and military posture. His dress uniform was impeccable, medals gleaming on his chest. The door slid open, and Doyon turned. He had been briefed about the Draconian ambassador's condition, but seeing Tejo in person still gave him pause. The dragon was enormous even by Draconian standards, at least 15 meters from snout to tail, with scales the color of burnished copper. On the hover platform, with his wings bound, he looked like a fallen titan. Doyon straightened and bowed formally. Ambassador Tejo, I'm Captain Park. Welcome to Harmony Station. The dragon studied him with intelligent eyes. Captain, thank you for meeting me before the formal talks. His gaze dropped briefly to Doyon's left leg. I see the reports about you were accurate. Doyon glanced down at his prosthetic leg. visible below his uniform pants. The advanced metal and composite limb made a subtle mechanical sound as he shifted his weight. "As were the reports about you, Ambassador," he replied evenly. A rumbling sound came from the dragon. A laugh. Doyon realized. Direct, good. I dislike diplomatic dancing. Taejo maneuvered his platform closer. "Do you know why I requested this meeting?" "I can guess. You wanted to see if the rumors were true, if the humans really sent a broken soldier to match their broken dragon." Taejo's eyes narrowed. "Close. I wanted to see if you were like me, someone sent to these talks because your government considers you disposable." The blunt statement hung in the air between them. Doyon's face remained carefully neutral, but his mind raced. This was not the conversation he had expected. "What makes you think I'm disposable, Ambassador?" "Because I know your history. Captain Park, the hero who publicly questioned his orders, the soldier who testified against his superior officers about the Proxima incident, the veteran who started a peace advocacy group." Taejo's long neck stretched forward slightly. "Your government sent you here to either silence you or ruin you. Just as mine sent me." Doyon didn't deny it. His appointment to the delegation had surprised everyone, himself included. "If we're both being set up to fail," Doyon said carefully, "why tell me this now, before negotiations even began?" Taejo's hover platform hummed as it adjusted position. "Because I believe we have more in common than our physical limitations, Captain. And because I suspect neither of us is as broken as our governments believe." For the first time since entering the room, Doyon smiled. "Then perhaps we should talk about what success might look like, Ambassador. For both our peoples." "Yes," Taejo agreed, his golden eyes gleaming. "I believe we should." 3 days into the peace talks, both delegations were locked in tense discussions. The conference room had become a battlefield of words, with human and draconian representatives arguing over border disputes, trade agreements, and military positioning. Ambassador Taejo and Captain Doyon had formed an unexpected alliance. When talks became heated, they often found middle ground that others missed. This partnership drew suspicious looks from both sides. "We will break for the evening," announced Minister Junho, the head of the human delegation. "Tomorrow we discuss the mining rights in the Proxima sector." As the room emptied, Taejo's aide, a younger dragon named Quan, approached his platform. "Ambassador, shall I escort you to your quarters?" Taejo shook his head. "No need. I have some matters to review before tomorrow. I'll return on my own." Quan hesitated. "The Proxima discussions will be difficult. Our military advisors insist we cannot compromise on those territories." "I'm well aware of their position," Taejo replied coolly. "Good night, Quan." After everyone left, only Taejo and Doyon remained in the conference room. "Your people seem unhappy with your performance," Doyon observed. Gathering his data tablets, Taejo made a sound like stones grinding together, a draconian sigh. "They expected me to be difficult and uncompromising. It would give them reason to abandon these talks." He turned his platform toward Doyon. "And your delegation watches you like you might betray them at any moment. They're not wrong to worry," Doyon said with a small smile. "I care more about peace than politics." A dangerous position, Taejo noted. For both of us. They parted ways at the corridor junction. Doyon heading to the human quarters and Taejo toward his specially modified suite. On the lower level, the station was quieter at night. Most people were in their quarters or the recreation areas. Taejo enjoyed these moments of solitude. No stares, no whispers, no pity or fear in the eyes of those he passed. He was halfway to his quarters when his hover platform made a strange noise. A high-pitched whine came from the propulsion system, followed by a sudden drop of 30 centimeters before the platform stabilized. "No," Taejo whispered, his claws working the control panel. The diagnostic screen flashed red warnings. The primary power coupling was failing. The platform rose again, but wobbled unsteadily. Taejo tried to access the emergency systems, but the controls weren't responding properly. He opened the communication channel. "This is Ambassador Taejo. I need technical assistance immediately. My platform is..." The second failure was catastrophic. With a sharp crack and shower of sparks, the platform's systems failed completely. 5 tons of paralyzed dragon crashed to the station floor with a thunderous impact. That shook the entire deck. Pain shot through Taijo's body, though his lower half had no sensation. His upper body and wings were crushed beneath his own weight. The impact knocked the wind from his lungs, cutting off his call for help. He tried to move, to shift his massive body, but it was useless. His powerful front legs could not lift his entire weight. His wings, once capable of carrying him through the skies, were now pinned and useless. The corridor was deserted at this late hour. Panic rose in Taijo's mind as he realized his emergency beacon was trapped beneath him. Without help, he could die here, a humiliating end that would likely spark renewed tensions between their species. "Help," he called, but his voice was weak from the pressure on his chest. "Someone, please." Minutes passed. The pain grew worse. Taijo's thoughts turned dark. Perhaps this was not an accident. Perhaps someone wanted the talks to fail. A dead ambassador would certainly achieve that. Footsteps approached. Taijo lifted his head as much as he could. Hope rising. Captain Doyan appeared around the corner. Walking quickly, he stopped abruptly at the sight before him, eyes widening. "Ambassador, what happened?" Taijo finally managed to draw a proper breath. The platform failed. Completely. He tried to maintain his dignity, but the pain and helplessness overwhelmed him. "Please," he gasped. "I can't walk or fly." The proud dragon diplomat begged, "Help me." Doyan assessed the situation quickly. The dragon's massive body was far too heavy for one human to move. Calling for help would create a diplomatic incident showing the draconian ambassador in such a vulnerable state would be a grave insult to their culture. "I need to get you upright before anyone sees," Doyan said, removing his uniform jacket. "This will hurt, but I need you to trust me." Taijo watched as the human knelt beside the broken hover platform. Doyan examined the damaged systems with practiced eyes. Power couplings completely fried. He muttered, "And the backup systems are disabled too." He looked up at Taijo. "This wasn't an accident." "Sabotage?" Taijo asked, though he had already suspected as much. "Yes. The question is who? Your people or mine?" Doyan's face hardened. "Or someone who wants both sides to blame each other." The human stood and began removing his prosthetic leg. Taijo watched in confusion as Doyan detached the advanced limb with practiced movements. "What are you doing?" "Solving our immediate problem," Doyan replied. He opened a panel on his prosthetic, revealing complex circuitry inside. Military-grade prosthetics have emergency power cells. Not enough to run your platform permanently, but enough to get you upright and to your quarters. "You would sacrifice your mobility for mine?" Taijo asked, genuinely surprised. Doyan smiled grimly. "I've crawled through worse. Besides, I keep a spare in my quarters, using tools from a hidden compartment in his prosthetic." Doyan began rewiring the power cell to the platform's emergency systems. His hands moved with confidence, connecting wires and bypassing damaged components. "Why help me this way?" Taijo asked quietly. "You could call for assistance." Doyan didn't look up from his work. "And let everyone see you like this. I know enough about draconian culture to understand what that would mean for you." "Most humans would enjoy seeing a dragon brought low," Taijo observed. "I'm not most humans," Doyan replied. "And you're not most dragons." The platform hummed weakly as Doyan connected the final wire. It began to rise, lifting Taijo's massive form centimeter by centimeter. "When I lost my leg," Doyan said as he worked, "a draconian field medic saved my life during the Proxima conflict." "Never got to thank him." Taijo's expression softened. "Perhaps this is your way of repaying that debt." "Perhaps," Doyan agreed, balancing on his remaining leg while guiding the platform. "Or perhaps I just understand what it means to suddenly lose part of yourself." With the platform barely functioning, Doyan helped guide Taijo forward. When the power fluctuated, Doyan crawled alongside, using his arms and remaining leg to keep moving. "We make quite a pair," Taijo said, watching the human's determination. "Yes," Doyan agreed, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. "And someone just tried very hard to make sure we couldn't work together." "Then we must disappoint them," Taijo said, his golden eyes gleaming with new purpose. "Agreed," said Doyan. "But first, let's get you somewhere safe." The journey to Taijo's quarters was slow and difficult. The makeshift power source Doyan had created from his prosthetic leg barely kept the hover platform functioning. Every few meters, the platform would dip dangerously before stabilizing again. Doyon moved alongside, sometimes crawling, sometimes hopping on his one leg. Sweat soaked through his uniform shirt, but he never complained or suggested they call for help. "We should take the service corridors," Doyon said, checking a station map on his wrist device. "Fewer people, fewer questions." Taejo nodded. "A wise precaution, though I'm not sure how much longer this platform will hold." "It'll hold," Doyon said firmly. "I've got it rigged to channel power in bursts. Not elegant, but effective." They turned down a narrow maintenance passage. The lighting was dimmer here, the walls lined with pipes and conduits. Their progress was painfully slow, but they were safe from curious eyes. "How did you learn to do this?" Taejo asked, watching Doyon make another adjustment to the power coupling. "Necessity." Doyon replied. "When you depend on technology to walk, you learn how to fix it." He looked up at the dragon. "After I lost my leg, I was stuck in a rehabilitation center for months. I hated depending on others, so I studied everything about my prosthetic. I understand that feeling well," Taejo said quietly. They continued in silence for a while. The platform hummed and sputtered, but kept moving. Doyon's face grew more strained with each passing minute. The effort of moving with one leg taking its toll. "We can rest if you need to," Taejo offered. Doyon shook his head. "Better to keep going. We're almost to the junction that leads to your quarters." As they approached the junction, voices echoed from around the corner. Doyon froze, signaling Taejo to stop. The dragon's platform settled to the floor with a soft hiss. "Don't care what the official position is," a male voice said. "These talks are a waste of time. Dragons only respect strength. Minister Junho wants results," a female voice replied. "Central Command is pushing hard for an agreement." "Central Command isn't here dealing with these lizards," the man said bitterly. "Especially that crippled one they sent to mock us." Taejo's eyes narrowed, but he remained silent. Doyon's face hardened as he recognized the voices members of the human delegation. "They're coming this way," Doyon whispered. "Can your platform rise high enough to reach those pipes?" Taejo looked up at the ceiling where large ventilation ducts ran. "Perhaps. Why? Dragons can cling to surfaces, right? Even in your condition, your front claws still work." "Yes, but trust me," Doyon said urgently. "We can't let them see us like this." Understanding dawned on Taejo. He nodded and activated the platform controls. The platform rose shakily toward the ceiling. When it was high enough, Taejo reached up with his powerful front claws and gripped the metal ducts. With a grunt of effort, he pulled his upper body off the platform, hanging from the ceiling like a massive bat. Doyon quickly pulled the platform down and pushed it into a small maintenance alcove. Then, with impressive agility despite his missing leg, he pulled himself up into the same alcove, pressing his body against the wall, just in time. Two humans in diplomatic uniforms rounded the corner. "Still talking. I heard Captain Park has been getting to friendly with the Dragon Ambassador." The woman said. "Park's always been a problem," the man replied. "That's why they sent him here, to get him out of the way. If he ruins these talks, they can finally discharge him. And if he somehow succeeds, he won't. No one wants these talks to succeed except idealists and fools." Their voices faded as they passed the hidden pair and continued down the corridor. Taejo and Doyon remained still for another minute to be sure they were gone. "You can come down now," Doyon said softly. Taejo's muscles trembled with the effort of holding his massive body. Slowly, he lowered himself back onto the platform as Doyon guided it beneath him. "It seems we are both considered expendable by our governments," Taejo observed. "Expendable or dangerous," Doyon replied, pulling the platform back into the corridor. "Sometimes those are the same thing to people in power." They resumed their journey, more cautious now. When they finally reached Taejo's quarters, both were exhausted. The door slid open, and the platform drifted inside with Doyon limping behind. The room was spacious and warm, designed specifically for draconian comfort. A large docking station for the hover platform stood in one corner. Doyon guided the failing platform toward it. "The docking station should recharge whatever power is left in the platform," he said. "But the main systems are still damaged. You won't be able to leave this room without help." Taejo settled onto the docking station with relief. Then I am your prisoner, Captain Park. Doyeon smiled tiredly. More like we're both prisoners of this situation. He sat heavily on a bench designed for human visitors, rubbing his leg stump. I need to report the sabotage. To whom? Taejo asked. We just heard members of your own delegation may not want these talks to succeed, and I cannot be certain my people are innocent either. Doyeon considered this. Station security, then. Director Kim seems trustworthy. Perhaps, Taejo agreed. But first, we need evidence. Accusations without proof will only make things worse. Doyeon nodded and moved to examine the damaged platform more thoroughly. He opened several panels and whistled softly. This was definitely sabotage, he said. The power coupling didn't just fail, it was deliberately shorted out. And look here. He pointed to a small device attached to the backup systems. This is a remote disabler. Military grade. Human or draconian? Taejo asked. Could be either, Doyeon admitted. Both our militaries used similar technology. He carefully removed the device. But this might tell us more if we can trace its origin. Taejo watched the human work with growing respect. Despite his disability and the pain he must be feeling, Doyeon remained focused and determined. You could have left me there, Taejo said suddenly. It would have been easier for you. No one would have blamed you. Doyeon looked up, surprised. I would have blamed me. Why? Our species have been enemies for decades. Species don't fight wars, Doyeon said. Governments do. People just get caught in the middle. He gestured to his missing leg, then to Taejo's immobile lower body. We're proof of that. Taejo was silent for a moment. How did it happen? Your injury. Doyeon's hands stilled on the platform's circuitry. Orbital drop gone wrong during the Proxima conflict. My team was deploying to a draconian mining colony that had been attacked by void-born raiders. Taejo's eyes widened. You were part of Operation Fire Shield? You know of it. My brother was stationed at that colony, Taejo said quietly. He told me human soldiers came to help defend against the void-born. But our high command told us it was a trick, that humans were coming to claim our territory. While we were vulnerable, Doyeon nodded slowly, and we were told your people had invited the void-born as an excuse to break the non-aggression pact. They stared at each other as understanding dawned. We've been lied to, Taejo said. Both our peoples, for a very long time, Doyeon agreed. He stood up, balancing on his one leg. I need to get back to my quarters for my spare prosthetic. Then we can figure out our next move. Our next move? Taejo asked. Doyeon's face was determined. Someone tried to kill you tonight. They'll try again when they realize you survived. We need to find out who and why they're so afraid of these peace talks succeeding. It won't be easy, Taejo warned. We have few allies and many enemies. True, Doyeon said with a small smile. But they made one mistake. What's that? They thought a dragon who can't fly and a human who can't walk would be easy to stop. Doyeon's eyes gleamed. They were wrong. Doyeon returned to Taejo's quarters an hour later. He walked smoothly on a new prosthetic leg, carrying a small bag of tools and equipment. The corridor outside was quiet. Most station residents were asleep during the artificial night cycle. Any problems while I was gone? Doyeon asked as the door closed behind him. Taejo shook his massive head. No visitors. But I received a message from my aide. The Draconian delegation is concerned about my absence from the evening meal. What did you tell them? That I was meditating in preparation for tomorrow's difficult negotiations. Taejo's mouth curved in what Doyeon now recognized as a dragon smile. It's a common practice among our diplomats. No one will question it. Doyeon nodded and set his bag on a table. I brought some equipment to examine that sabotage device more carefully. He pulled out several small tools and a portable scanner, and I checked the station security logs on my way here. Find anything useful? Yes and no. Doyeon connected the scanner to a data pad. There's a gap in the security footage for the corridor where your platform failed. 20 minutes of nothing, just a loop of empty hallway. Professional work. Taejo observed. Very. Whoever did this has access to station security systems. Doyeon began scanning the remote disabler they had found on Taejo's platform. That narrows it down, but not enough. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Doyeon analyzing the device. Taejo reviewing data on his personal tablet. The room was warm, set to draconian comfort levels, and Doyon eventually removed his uniform jacket. As he did, Taejo noticed something on the human's arm. "Those scars," he said. "They're burn marks." Doyon glanced at his exposed forearm, where a pattern of old burn scars twisted from wrist to elbow. "Yes, another souvenir from Proxima. Draconian fire." "No," Doyon's face darkened. "Human fire. When my drop pod crashed, I was trapped inside. The rescue team that pulled me out was draconian." Taejo's golden eyes widened. "You never mentioned that part before." Doyon shrugged. "It doesn't fit the official narrative. According to our military records, all human casualties at Proxima were from draconian attacks." "A convenient lie," Taejo said bitterly. "Just like the lies they told us." He shifted on his platform, adjusting his position. "I wasn't born paralyzed, you know. I assumed as much," Doyon said quietly. "I was a military commander," Taejo continued. "My wings were shattered and my spine severed in an accident, after I ordered my ships to hold position rather than fire on human rescue vessels. Approaching our mining colony, my superiors called it treason. Yet they made you a diplomat," Doyon observed. "A punishment disguised as an honor," Taejo replied. "Send the broken dragon to negotiate with humans. If I fail, they lose nothing. If I succeed, they take the credit." Doyon's eyes met the dragon's. "Then we have something else in common. My government sent me because I've publicly questioned our draconian policies. This assignment was meant to silence me or ruin me, it seems," Taejo said with a rumbling sigh. "We were both set up to fail." The scanner beeped, drawing their attention back to the sabotage device. "Got something," Doyon said, studying the results. "This device has a manufacturing signature. It's Centauri-made, military grade." He looked up at Taejo. "Not standard issue for either of our militaries. The Centauri Consortium is neutral in our conflict," Taejo noted. "Officially, yes, but they sell weapons to both sides." Doyon's brow furrowed. "And they have the most to lose if peace breaks out between humans and draconians." "The mining rights," Taejo said, understanding dawning. "If our species stop fighting over the Proxima sector, the consortium loses its exclusive mining contracts," Doyon finished. "They've been playing both sides, keeping the conflict going while they strip the resources." Taejo's tail twitched in anger, one of the few parts of his lower body. He could still move voluntarily. "We need proof. Something more than a single sabotage device." Doyon nodded, thinking. "There must be records of the consortium's dealings with both our governments. Financial transactions, shipping manifests, communication logs. Such records would be highly classified," Taejo pointed out. "Yes," Doyon agreed, "but not impossible to access." He hesitated, then added, "I have contacts, people who share my concerns about the war. Some of them have access to sensitive information." "Spies?" Taejo asked, his voice neutral. "Information specialists," Doyon corrected with a small smile. "People who believe the truth matters more than official secrets." Taejo considered this. "I may have similar contacts among my own people. Dragons who question the endless conflict with humans. Can you trust them?" "As much as you can trust yours," Taejo replied. "Which is to say," cautiously, Doyon nodded. "We'll need to be careful how we communicate with them. If someone is monitoring our activities." A soft chime interrupted him. The room's communication system was signaling an incoming call. Taejo pressed a button on his platform, and a screen lit up on the wall. Director Hannah Kim's face appeared. She looked concerned. "Ambassador Taejo, forgive the late hour. I'm trying to locate Captain Park. He's not answering calls to his quarters." Doyon moved into view of the camera. "I'm here, Director. The ambassador and I were discussing tomorrow's negotiations." Hannah's eyebrows rose slightly. "I see. Well, I'm glad I found you. There's been a security incident. Someone accessed restricted areas of the station's computer system earlier this evening." Doyon and Taejo exchanged a quick glance. "What areas were accessed?" Doyon asked carefully. "Life support systems for the diplomatic quarters," Hannah replied. "And the maintenance logs for all diplomatic transport equipment, including my hover platform?" Taejo asked. Hannah nodded. "Yes, the intrusion was sophisticated. We're still investigating." Has anyone else been informed? Doyon asked. Not yet. I wanted to alert security personnel first. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Is there something I should know, Captain? Doyon hesitated, looking at Taejo. The dragon gave a small nod. Director Kim, Doyon said. We need to speak with you privately. There's been an attempt on Ambassador Taejo's life. Hannah's expression turned grave. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Alone. After the call ended, Taejo turned to Doyon. Do you trust her? I think so, Doyon replied. But we should be careful what we reveal. If the consortium has infiltrated the station, anyone could be compromised. Taejo nodded. We need allies, but we must choose them wisely. He shifted on his platform, wincing slightly. This reminds me of an old draconian saying, in the darkness of space. Trust the stars you've charted yourself. We have a similar saying, Doyon said. When lost in a storm, count only on the compass in your own hand. Taejo's golden eyes met Doyon's. It seems our peoples have more in common than either side wants to admit. Yes, Doyon agreed. And perhaps that's what someone is afraid of. The door chimes sounded. Director Kim had arrived. Doyon took a deep breath and moved to answer it, his new prosthetic leg carrying him forward with purpose. Ready? He asked Taejo. The dragon straightened his massive body as much as his condition allowed. Dignity and determination in his bearing. Ready. Let us see if we can find another star to chart in this darkness. Doyon nodded and opened the door, prepared to take their first real step toward uncovering the truth and perhaps toward a genuine peace. Morning arrived on Earth Station Harmony, with the artificial lighting gradually brightening. To simulate dawn, the main conference hall buzzed with tension as delegates from both species gathered for what promised to be the most difficult day of negotiations yet. Minister Jun-ho checked his watch for the third time. Where is Captain Park? And has anyone seen the Draconian ambassador? Kwan, Taejo's aide, looked equally concerned. Ambassador Taejo is not responding to messages. This is most unusual. Whispers spread through both delegations. The absence of both Taejo and Doyon at the same time raised suspicions on all sides. Perhaps the dragon has reconsidered his position, one human delegate suggested. Their kind are not known for compromise, a draconian military advisor snorted, sending a small puff of smoke from his nostrils. Or perhaps your Captain Park has finally shown his true colors. We all know his history of questionable loyalties. The tension in the room grew thicker. Hands moved closer to concealed weapons. Eyes narrowed with distrust. The main doors slid open. All heads turned. Director Hannah Kim entered first, her face serious but calm. Behind her came Captain Doyon, walking smoothly on his prosthetic leg, his uniform crisp and formal. And beside him glided Ambassador Taejo on a completely rebuilt hover platform, his copper scales gleaming, his wings proudly displayed despite their immobility. But what caused the room to fall into stunned silence was not their appearance, but their companions, for security officers to human and to draconian flanked them. And between these guards walked 3 people in restraints, a human delegate, a draconian advisor, and a well-dressed civilian woman, whom many recognized as a representative of the Centauri Consortium. What is the meaning of this? Minister Jun-ho demanded, rising from his seat. Security breach, Minister. Director Kim replied calmly. These individuals have been caught engaging in sabotage and espionage against both delegations. The room erupted in shouts and questions. Director Kim raised her hand for silence. Ambassador Taejo and Captain Park will explain. I suggest everyone listen carefully. Taejo moved his platform forward. Last night, someone tried to kill me, he said, his deep voice cutting through the noise. My hover platform was sabotaged, a sophisticated attack that should have left me helpless and dying in an empty corridor. Gasps and growls came from the draconian delegation. Fortunately, Taejo continued, Captain Park found me and saved my life. At great personal cost, he gestured to Doyon. He sacrificed his own mobility device to restore mine and helped me investigate who might want these peace talks to fail so badly. They would resort to murder. Doyon stepped forward. What we discovered goes beyond one assassination attempt. For decades, both our species have been manipulated into continuing a conflict that serves neither of us. He nodded to one of the security officers, who activated a large display screen. Documents, financial records, and communication logs appeared. These records show that the Centauri Consortium has been selling weapons to both sides, while encouraging military action through bribes, false intelligence, and strategic provocations, Doyon explained. They've been mining resources from disputed territories while we fight over them, making trillions from our conflict. Lies, shouted the restrained consortium representative. This is a fabrication. The evidence was in your own secure files, Director Kim said coldly. Files you accessed using credentials stolen from both human and draconian officials. Your co-conspirators here, the human delegate in restraints, a senior military advisor named Seijin, glared at Doyon. You've always been a traitor to your own kind, Park. Dragons can't be trusted. They never could. The draconian advisor, a general named Ryu, hissed at Taejo. You dishonor our people with your weakness. Peace with humans is surrender. Taejo's golden eyes narrowed. The true weakness is being manipulated by those who profit from our blood. He turned to address both delegations. For too long, we have seen each other as enemies. But the real enemy has been hiding in plain sight, whispering poison in our ears. Doyon moved to stand beside Taejo's platform. Last night, Ambassador Taejo and I discovered something else. Something that has been hidden from both our peoples. He touched a control, and new images appeared on the screen. They showed human and draconian soldiers fighting side by side against a third force, the insectoid Void-born raiders. These are classified records from the Proxima incident, Doyon said. The truth that both our governments concealed. When the Void-born attacked the draconian mining colony, human forces responded to help, not to invade, but to defend. I was there, Taejo added. I commanded the draconian defense fleet. When human ships arrived, I was ordered to fire on them. I refused. His voice grew quieter. That decision cost me my wings and my ability to walk. Murmurs spread through the room as delegates from both sides began to understand the implications. And I was there too, Doyon said. When my drop pod crashed, draconian medics saved my life, even as I lost my leg. That truth was buried in classified reports, replaced with lies about draconian attacks. Minister Junho stood slowly, his face pale. Are you saying our own governments have been lying to us? That this conflict has been manufactured? Not entirely, Taejo replied. Our differences are real, but they have been exploited and inflamed by those who profit from our division. He gestured to the consortium representative. While we fight, they steal what belongs to both our peoples. The room fell silent as everyone processed this revelation. Decades of hatred and suspicion could not be erased in a moment, but doubt had been planted. What do you propose? Asked a senior draconian diplomat, looking from Taejo to Doyon. Doyon stepped forward. A new beginning, not based on forgetting the past, but on understanding it truthfully. He activated another display showing a new peace proposal. Ambassador Taejo and I have drafted an agreement that addresses the real issues between our species, not the manufactured ones. The key points, Taejo continued, include joint administration of the Proxima sector, shared defense responsibilities against the Void-born threat, and a full investigation into the consortium's activities in our territories. And most importantly, Doyon added, a commitment to transparency. No more secrets, no more lies between our peoples. Director Kim moved to the center of the room. I've reviewed their proposal as a neutral party. It's fair to both sides and addresses the legitimate concerns of each species. Minister Junho looked troubled. This is unprecedented. We would need approval from Earth Central Command, and we would need the High Council's blessing, said the senior draconian diplomat. Taejo's platform rose slightly higher. Then let them see this. He gestured to the evidence still displayed on the screen. Let them explain why they've allowed our people to die in a conflict that serves only the consortium's greed. And while they deliberate, Doyon said, we can show them this. He reached out and formally extended his hand to Taejo. The dragon understood immediately. He stretched out his massive claw and clasped Doyon's hand, the first public draconian human handshake in recorded history. A flash of light caught the moment as Director Kim captured the image. I believe this will speak louder than any words, she said. The room erupted in a mixture of outrage, support, and confusion. But through the chaos, Taejo and Doyeon remained connected. Their unlikely alliance a physical symbol of what might be possible. Do you think this will work? Taejo asked quietly, his voice audible only to Doyeon. Doyeon smiled. I don't know, but for the first time in my career, I feel like I'm standing on solid ground. Taejo's rumbling laugh surprised those nearby. Ironic, coming from someone who gave up his leg to help a dragon. Sometimes, Doyeon replied, you have to fall before you can truly stand, as the delegations argued and debated around them. The paralyzed dragon and the one-legged human remained united to broken warriors, who had found strength not in their bodies, but in the truth they now shared.